Oh.
Recording's in progress. Hello.
Okay, so anyways, Cinco de Mayo.
Mm,
It's cheese, the mincemeat, the taco seasoning, and then tomatoes, onions,
mm.
lettuce, like a taco. You know what a taco is?
So yeah, I mean,
Ah.
I'm not big on tacos.
It's
I don't
taco.
I taco. Don't think I don't think I've ever eaten a taco.
A
Taco.
taco. It
A
sounds way
taco.
better. I think they should start saying it that way.
They're hard shells, aren't they?
Could be. They also have soft shells.
I don't see how I just don't it doesn't seem edible to
Mm.
have a crispy hard shell
Hmm.
that is bigger than a mouthful,
Yep.
like a tortilla chip. It's big and crispy. To
Mhm.
then try and eat, that's just going to shatter and food is going to go everywhere.
It does. And if you're young and are easily frustrated, like I was, it would
Mm,
piss me right off. Like
yeah.
tacos were a very angry meal for me.
Yeah.
Now it
I,
is
I just,
possible, but you got it like it's a skill set like anything else, like chopsticks,
yes,
piano, tennis.
skill set.
Hi,
Taco eating.
Taco Teco. Oh,
Mm.
it's our first podcast. Holy shit. Um,
Okay.
what's the purpose of our podcast, Mia?
Well, that's a very good question.
What the fuck are we doing this?
That's a very good question because it's all left my mind. I
Mm,
don't remember. No, I
beautiful.
know why we're doing this. Um, well, I have my personal reason for doing it,
Let's do it. Let's do those.
which I think is different to your reason. Um, I'm doing this because you asked me. So that's the first reason, and I can't say no to
Period.
you. No, I can say no to you. Um, but I'm doing it because I want to, it feels like a step in my practicing self-expression.
Mm,
A branch of my not practicing self-expression is to hide.
yeah.
That's sort of an aspect of me not practicing my self-expression means that I will do look the other way, and hide. I'll
Yeah.
freeze and pretend I'm not there and hope that people just walk past. And I'll
I
be,
think quails do that, right?
yeah,
Like
probably.
if it
Yeah, I'll be
stands
like,
real still.
yeah. If I do that at all in this video, you'll know what's happening. You'll be like, wake up, Mia. So that's why I'm a yes to doing this. Take a breath.
Oh my God, why is it called Unhooked?
Yeah. Why is it called Unhooked? Okay. We settled upon that name because when we were having our pre-podcast initial, this is our first one, but in the meetings beforehand, so we've met 3 times to have conversations. Each time I have unhooked my bra because I couldn't breathe. Yeah, I mean, possibly I just need a bigger bra. I mean, that's an option, but
That's
I
a different
refuse.
podcast.
Yeah, I refuse to buy a
Oh
larger
God.
bra. That's not happening.
No,
That's not
that's
happening. I will
way too
just
much
suffer
work.
and not breathe. Yeah.
We're just
Yeah. So that's why we've called it Unhooked. There were
awesome.
other names as options. Um, why are you doing this?
Oh, I have been thinking about podcasting for years. Um, and I couldn't ever get my mind around like what would I be doing? What would the purpose be other than me yammering on about leadership and transformation or trying to give helpful tip. I don't know. It always felt
Mm,
like stupid and boring. Um, and then I was driving, listening to Adam's podcast. Adam, for our listeners, is somebody that you and I both know.
yeah.
He's also a coach. And I was like, oh my God, Mia, you and I were already talking pretty regularly. Um,
Mm,
and I was having so much fun on those conversations. And like we've spent time together, we're funny as shit. And that's when I was like, there it is. Like this could
mm,
be a really fun way to do a podcast
Mm,
to talk about transformation and
mm,
not such a serious, like, teacher way, which is what most people do. And I'm not like, I found one teacher that I enjoy, but mostly like out of a sea of people like telling us how to do stuff, like that doesn't interest me. And then, like, ultimately, wouldn't it be
mm,
amazing if somebody were listening to us as if we were all like hanging out in my living room eating
mm.
tacos
Tech.
and talking about this? It's serious, but it doesn't have to be significant, right? Like, this is
Mm,
difficult, intense work, but it can be fun and it can be light and we can poke fun at ourselves. And
mm,
that's I imagine somebody listening and going like, "Oh, there is a different way to look at this." And oh, I would like to like I would like to explore that more. I would like to consider what else is possible in my own life. That would
mm.
be amazing.
Yeah, and I remember, I just want to ask you, are you recording this side by side?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Because I can just see a very big U.
Oh, yeah. No, I got us side by side. Good
Okay,
question.
just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and when we were talking, last week, the week before, one of the things that we talked about was it can sometimes, we want this to be accessible, ideally, like you said, sitting in your living room just chatting, because often this work can feel like the people who are telling us about it and sharing, it's probably changing a bit, but the people who are sharing and telling us about this amazing work, they somehow don't seem like us. They seem a
Okay.
bit shinier and a bit different and a bit more special somehow. Um,
Okay, so
whereas
we're
what?
we're
What?
what's the opposite? So we're dull and
Hmm.
amazingly average. We're like
Very average,
the
ordinary
everyman.
people. Yeah,
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 we're like the Walmart version of the transformation world.
yeah, yeah. I
We're
like
totally
that. Don't like
accessible.
it, but I like that. Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
like Walmart.
totally. No, I've never been, but I've never been to America.
When you come visit me in
Oh,
Oshkosh.
we should say you're in Oshkosh, you're in
Yep,
America,
I am.
and I'm in the United Kingdom. Perhaps that was evident from our voices,
Accents.
our accents,
Yeah, hey
possibly.
there. And what's happening in the United Kingdom today? It's so
We
cool.
are crowning our king.
It's fucking cool.
I know,
I
I
mean,
know.
I did see the carriage and I was a little freaked out by how much gold is in that thing.
Mm,
After volunteering at the homeless shelter this week in my town and then thinking about that gold
mm,
carriage, I was like, humans are pretty weird.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot we could say about that. Maybe we can put that on our list of topics to talk about. I think it's a very interesting conversation, but I think part of the conversation is about homogenization as well. I really
Mm.
like the pomp and ceremony. I think it's like a fairy tale. And
Totally.
probably an incredibly immature perspective on it. But I like the glamour, the pomp, the ceremony um, of that whole thing. But yes, there is a conversation to be had
Awesome.
about sharing of resources. But
Yeah.
not today, Ali.
That's not our topic today.
That's not our topic today.
Our topic is self-expression.
Self-expression.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Where you want to start? Do you want to read off the question?
Well, what I was wondering first of all is how are each of us defining it?
Mm, yeah.
Do
I'll
you
take a
have a
stab.
way of defining? Yeah, go on,
Oh
take a
gosh,
swing at
no.
it.
No, and like in preparation for today's podcast, I also didn't create a definition for myself. So,
No,
um,
I didn't. I looked at this a few minutes beforehand and thought, oh, wouldn't have
shit, what are we
that
talking
would have been
about?
really useful if I thought about what self-expression means to me. I'm looking for a breakthrough in it. What is it?
Oh, we're gonna
Yeah,
do it now. In the
yeah,
next 10
go.
minutes, you're gonna witness a live breakthrough. Um, for me, it's let's see if I can make sense. it's putting myself into a space such that people will have eyes on me. So,
Mm,
like, maybe I'm sharing something, I'm speaking about something, I'm singing, like, that's a form of self expression to me. Playing a song, reading a poem, performing athletically, that's self expression. Riding a horse, right? So, there's all ways of self expression. And the way I think about it is when people are watching me do a thing.
okay.
How about you?
Well, I had similar thoughts, and then I started to question myself because that felt I had similar ideas about putting myself into a space where I would be seen. And it's also what I kind of described at the beginning of this conversation. Um, you know, my tendency is to hide, and I see that connected to self-expression. But I also wondered, that felt like a very performative
Yeah. Yes.
kind of aspect of it. I was I'm connecting self-expression to people pleasing for me.
Yes.
So suppressing, I'm more able to see what it isn't than
Yeah.
actually get a handle on what it is. So it's something to do with being seen.
Yeah.
It's something to do with the opposite of people pleasing, so pleasing myself.
Hmm.
And it's not always connected to being seen. So that sounds very mucky and murky. That isn't a clear definition. And I'm 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 kind of thinking for me, I'm looking for a breakthrough in this.
Uh-huh.
That's how we would describe it in coaching terms. I'm looking to transform, pop open from my cocoon with my beautiful, flapping wings and become
Hmm.
a more expressed version of myself. And yet, isn't it interesting that I'm not super clear on
What would
what
that
that would
mean?
look like? And yeah, what would that mean? Um, and I think part of it actually isn't, it's not just to do with being seen. I'm thinking in the moment, you can probably tell. But it's not just to do with being seen by others. Um, it's something about myself, Ali, and I'm really not sure what it is. But it's something about being more connected to myself. Go. You're going to
Well,
say
what
something.
happens? Imagine yourself being seen by others. What's
Mm.
going on inside you when you are being watched, when you are being seen, when somebody is witnessing you?
It depends on the situation, but it's often a performative experience for me. I'm trying to get it right.
Hmm. Like right now.
Um, there's an aspect of that.
Yeah. Same.
Less so, I mean, more so because I can see the word recording in the top of the screen.
Suddenly it becomes like a prisoner video.
Yes, post it no, can't see that anymore. It's gone.
Did you discover it? I love
I
it.
just covered it up, yeah. So it's slightly different to when you and I were talking last week and the week before,
Yeah. Yeah.
because now I feel like it's not just Ali who's listening to me. So it's definitely a performative piece.
Yes.
So I'm back into kind of like alignment and agreement with you saying it's something about people having eyes on me. But I don't think it's just that, Ali, and I don't know what the other piece is.
Yeah.
But that's something about being with myself and listening to my own wants and needs. And that feels like it's connected. There's clearly more work for me to do on this, but that's connected to this people pleasing
Yeah.
piece
Yes.
where I'm trying to please other people. And that's nothing to do with eyes on me. That can be in a phone call.
You do it everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be pleasing other people rather than putting myself first. And the feeling I often have when I put myself first is I'm doing a bad thing. I'm
Yeah.
being selfish.
And interesting that people pleasing is the perspective is that you're putting somebody else first, but typically people pleasing is actually subconsciously putting yourself first, right?
I can see that. Yeah.
So, like a really great example is you're with a client and you're holding space and they start to have some intense emotion around something and maybe they start to cry
Mm,
and you stand up and walk away from them to go get them a Kleenex box. That's not
mm,
about the client, right? That's about me being uncomfortable with my client having an intense emotion and like
mm,
that's an energy leak, right? That's people pleasing. Like I want to be nice, I want to be
mm,
seen as caring and compassionate. So of course I go get a box of
mm,
Kleenex. But that wasn't
mm.
about my client. My client didn't ask for Kleenex. By the way, they have legs. They're just as capable of getting a box of Kleenex as
Yeah.
I
And a
like,
sleeve.
oh, yep, I got a dog. You could, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
The example I have of that is where it's not about them, it's about me.
mm,
I'm protecting myself because if I don't please that person, then I will be in trouble and I don't want to be in trouble.
yes.
I don't want to face their wrath, you know.
Yeah.
I don't
This,
want to face their wrath of them being cross with me,
yep.
of them thinking that I'm not a nice person,
Right.
I'm not generous,
Yeah.
I'm not compassionate, all of the nots, not this, not that, you know. Um, and so I protect myself. And I probably don't want to think of myself in that way.
Of
I'm
course.
probably judging myself that, you know, well, you're not being madly compassionate here, or you could be kinder, or you could be, oh, come on, just do the thing.
Yeah.
Why are you putting yourself first? I'm judging myself. So yes, it's I wonder if it should be renamed. Should it not be people pleasing?
I call it self-pleasing.
Do you?
I do with my clients that are really stuck in. I had to do that myself. I had to stop calling it people pleasing because that's how it appeared on the outside. But when it was
Mm,
reflected to me that it was interrupting somebody's process, then I
mm,
was like, oh God, I'm doing this for me. It's me pleasing.
mm.
It's self pleasing. It's actually, and it's not that
And
like, mm,
would you use that term in a conversation with a friend or a family member, nothing to do with you and your role as a coach? Would you use self-pleasing in that context as well? Like the, you know, I don't know, your mum rings or your aunt rings and they want you to do something and you're like, oh, I don't want to.
I don't know that I would use it just casually. Normally, I can like really identify that it makes me uncomfortable, and then I
Mm,
just say that, like I'm really
mm,
uncomfortable. Or like if I'm holding space with somebody, then I won't say anything. I'll just
mm,
notice my desire to like make the discomfort go away.
mm.
And
It's funny. I think I feel more comfortable doing it in the or not people pleasing in the professional space because I know my role there.
you know the
I
rules.
yeah. I know the hat I'm wearing. I
Hmm.
know what to do
Yeah. And
in
you know
that
the right
space.
wrong.
Yeah. But it's when I'm in my private being,
Yes.
my personal self, social self as opposed to leader self or whatever we would call it, then I'm kind of like less sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have we found a definition for self-expression? Have we
Um,
created a definition for self-expression?
no,
No,
I don't think so. I don't, that's
no,
okay.
I don't think it matters. Yeah, it doesn't
I
matter.
do think we found a thread, a couple of things that are similar. One is that when people have eyes on us, we want to be perceived in a certain way. That's
Mm,
part of it. That's part of like what tamps down our self-expression or has us like not fully expressed. And
mm,
I call that like it's like the thing that I'm always fighting is crowd management, right? Like I want people to see me a certain way. So I don't sing, I don't dance. The ways that I am seen in the world is I speak. I do workshops,
mm,
keynotes, things like that.
mm,
And then I also I compete in athletic endeavors, and that's where people will see me. So those are the
mm,
two places that feel where I get to express myself the most. And when I am doing, like yesterday, I have an example. We were doing this is one rep max. Do you know what that means in the athletic world?
no,
So do you know what a deadlift is?
no.
Okay, so you basically bend over.
I think I know. Go,
You
keep
just
going.
there's a bar on the ground and you have to pick it up and then put it down.
Hmm. With
So
weights on the end.
with weights, lots of them, as
Yeah.
many as you can pick up. And then your one rep max is the most weight you can just barely actually complete the move.
Got it. Mm,
And normally we have 3 or 4 people where I work out in the at the time slot that I go in that class because it's real
mm,
early. And yesterday we had like 9 people. And when I put on extra weight that I'd never done before, there were a bunch of people that were like cheering me on. And there was like, I can identify a moment as I picked it up off the ground. I was like, there's no fucking way I can pick this up. But then everybody
mm,
started cheering me. And there I was, like my self expression, me wanting to like manage the crowd and have them think that I'm strong and, resilient and tenacious and all the things.
mm,
And like, there was a moment where I was like, oh, now you got to do it. But if it had just been me by
mm.
myself, there's no way I would have picked that up. I would have been like, fuck this, I'm not doing it. So it's funny, even in my self expression inside of like athletics. Oh, and by
Mm.
the way, I did. I had a PR, which is a personal record.
Well done.
Yeah. Oh, high five. Get it. So,
So that sounds like you would not have pushed yourself had you been on your own.
no, part of my self expression is fed by the crowd.
Mm,
There's a part of me that loves it, like
mm,
really eats it up. I love to be on a
mm,
stage. I don't love to be on a stage talking at, I love to be in front of a group and having conversation.
mm,
I love that. And I love to compete. Like, I love to compete in front of people
mm.
and be seen in that way. But, like, I was thinking about today, I have a question.
Go.
Are you ready? What is your worst, um, like, what is your nightmare related to self
Myself,
expression?
my nightmare related to self-expression. Oh, well, it would be something, it would be, oh, would it be? Okay, maybe it's two things. I think it would be in front of other people. So there'd be some sort of situation where I would be in front of others and I would just not perform. I would freeze,
Yeah.
dry up. I mean, it's nothing dramatic.
Yeah.
I would freeze, I would dry up. Um, I mean, that doesn't sound very nightmarish, but I think I have a fear of that.
Oh, yeah. To the person
Um,
in front of everybody drying up, it's a total nightmare.
yeah. And I have had that experience before.
Yep.
And I think it has probably left a mark, which has me then not want to. So it was clearly unpleasant enough, sufficiently nightmarish for
Yeah.
me not to want to repeat it.
Yeah.
Um, but I think this other thing that is completely undistinguished for me, which is something about self-expression when I'm just on my own.
Yeah.
I don't know what the nightmare is connected to that. The only thing that's coming into my head is that it's kind of similar, that there would be nothing there.
Mm. There is
So,
like that is a
yeah,
common.
it's like a common, huh?
I'm like, what would that even look like if you were on your own and you were like looking to express yourself? Like, would that be painting? Like you were going to start this gorgeous painting and
Actually,
like,
I don't think it's necessarily more than just being with myself. What I've noticed, I'm connecting dots here, which
sure, it's
may or may
cool.
not make sense. But recently, I've had, over the last few months, maybe longer, quite a few evenings on my own,
Mm,
and I have filled that time with numbing activities
I see.
rather than
Hmm.
be alone. And I want to say alone with myself
Yeah.
rather than be alone. And I noticed myself, just devouring Netflix, literally scrolling around trying to find something that would be in any way worth watching.
Mm,
Um, and then sort of, waiting until I was like dog tired
Yeah.
and then would go to bed. And
Yeah.
like questioning myself, well, this is really weird because I have a pile of books that I want to read.
Mm.
Why am I not nurturing myself and fulfilling myself in that way? Why am I not doing that? Somehow, I don't know what it is. That felt effortful, whereas numbing out
Yeah.
felt easier. But I did one evening turn the TV off
Mm.
and sat in silence. And it was as if I thought something awful was going to happen. I wondered what would
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So I turned the TV off and sat there kind of waiting.
And
Well, I survived. I'm here. I lived through it. But it's something I really can't distinguish it, Ali. But there's something about that's it because you look less like witness protection now
there
with
we go. Yes.
your face. Yeah, just like
The
a
sun is up.
silhouette. Yeah. Um, so there's some undistinguished piece. So I would love, if we don't get it distinguished in this conversation, for me to go away and do some thinking around it and some writing around it, and then come back to this conversation because it's not just about being seen. Because then to me, like I'm like, is that self-expression?
That's crowd
If it's
management.
about yeah, it feels like it's something else.
Yeah.
It's a branch of, but it
Yeah.
feels like something else.
Hmm.
I'm really not clear on what self-expression is.
Yeah.
But I know it's something to do with me, and I'm not sure.
Well, let me take a stab at what I just heard.
Mhm. Okay, do.
When you're talking about um, like not being in front of people or not having eyes on you, there's
Mm,
also a way of expressing yourself. um, and like what's occurring to me is when we get up in our heads. So let me see if I can suss this out really quick. Like when you're playing, if you've watched, by the way, on Netflix, there is a documentary on, I think I've told you this, on the top 10 tennis players in the world.
mhm,
And there's they're narrating their own matches. So they're watching themselves play and they're like, here's the point where I started to question
mm,
whether I even knew how to play tennis. Why am I saying that? Hold on, let me get back to where I was going. Oh, yeah, got it. That like when they get up into their heads, suddenly
mm,
the whole thing falls apart. Like riding a bike, like playing
mm,
tennis, like leadership, right? There's so many things that when we get up here, we get lost, kind of like I just did,
mm,
right? And I wonder if
mm,
self-expression actually comes from here, our heart, like, or our gut,
mm,
anywhere other than our head. Because the head is like
mm,
monkey time, right? Like it's busy and disorganized, chaotic,
mm,
full of rabbit holes. And when we're
mhm,
actually doing the thing of self-expression, we're really like allowing whatever it is to come out in whatever way it comes out and without our mind getting in the way.
mm.
What do you think?
I like that. I like that. Yeah, and
Do you
that
like the
is
interpretive
making.
dance?
I really liked that.
Jazz hands.
Very nice. Yeah, no, I like that, Ali. And it's making me think then of moments. It's less then about whether I'm on my own or whether I'm in front of other people, and it's more about what's happening internally for
Yeah.
me. And I delivered a group last week, and we couldn't get hold of any of the session notes. They'd
Oh,
vanished. So where we would normally check in
yeah.
and look at what we were going, just wasn't there. And I was delivering with someone who's learning to deliver the program. She's never delivered this program before.
Oh boy.
And so she didn't have anything to draw on because she was like, well, I haven't done this before. I was like, the bloody notes.
Yeah.
So all we had was the stuff that we were going to present. So kind of like the little pamphlet that we were working from. And even the week before when we had the notes, so maybe it's not so much about having something to hold on to or not, although that does feel comforting and reassuring.
That's this though.
Yes.
That's the mind.
Yeah. And the week before, so I'm skipping about, but the week before, there was a bit that we were going to present and deliver to this group, and then they were going to do some work on it. And I was like, I hate this bit. I really hate this bit. And I looked at the notes. I was like, I don't even know. The notes don't help. There's nothing there that's helping.
How often does
Like,
that happen?
oh, like God.
No schmotes.
And I stood up and just thought, oh, I'll just say something and something will happen.
Yes.
And it's the best time that I have ever presented that to anyone. And in presenting it, I was drawing from people's examples, and we were going round in a circle with this piece and adding to it. And I really felt for the first time ever, I got what that was about. And I was completely in the moment. And
Yes.
I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed myself. I didn't really know where I was going because I was like, I don't really remember what this is about.
I think you just defined self-expression, but I think it took the six
What did
pencils,
I say?
pens that you're holding. How many things are in your hands right
What
now?
did I say?
What is,
Only 4.
what the fuck is happening over
Do you
there?
like these?
Well, I don't know why you're holding so many. Are those bunny ears?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. It's got a little bunny face on it.
And it says,
I can't. Don't worry. I can't read the rest of that.
don't worry, be hoppy.
Will you mail me that pen?
And
Just
this
come
one
to
is
Oshkosh.
even better. I want this to be my business card. That's me, isn't it? Look,
Oh,
can you see?
and then what does it say? I love
Be
this.
curious.
Fuck you. Give
I
me these
know.
pens.
I know. And on the back, it says, we are dreamers.
Done.
And it's erasable. So if you make a mistake, you can
Because if
just
you're
rub it out, which is
curious,
perfect.
I love it.
And then there's this one.
Oh, why are they so cute? I can't read. It's so blurry.
It says dream big.
Oh my God. They're really cute.
I know. I love them.
So self-expression.
What did I say? You just said we came up with it.
It's from here. When you're like, flow from the guy who wrote the book on flow, Michael Chichapachapa, with all the vowels or all the consonants and no vowels in his name. Like when you're literally doing the thing and you don't realize you're doing it. Like when you're riding a bike and you're just riding the bike. That's self-expression.
Oh, thank God we got there.
Boom.
Yeah.
Cut.
Yeah. I'm happy with that. I like that.
I do too.
So the other pieces are peripheral, really.
Yeah.
They are, connected.
They're symptoms.
But then, yes, but they're not the thing.
Right.
They're not the thing. Yeah, it's literally just being in the moment, not aware of oneself. Because in that moment when I was doing the work, I suppose there was some element of awareness, but it was almost like a hindsight thing. I could look back and I know that I was kneeling on the floor at one point, like crouched down.
Wait,
and then my
what?
arms were out. Yeah, it was kind of my arms were out and it was like, yes, yeah, and the thing, and yes. And I was, and I was writing it. And then my writing wasn't even making sense. And I was like, oh, I can't spell whatever the word was, just a squiggle. That's that word. Yes, tell me the thing. And it was all
Like a conductor.
yes.
Yeah.
But this joyous exchange
Yeah.
of working with these 4 women in the room and my colleague who was in the room, but working with them, and it was quick, and or at least it felt rapid. I don't know how quick it was, but it felt like there was this exchange happening, energetic
Yeah.
exchange. Yeah. So that's self-expression. So when you say the other pieces, we said we were going to finish at the top of the hour. Are you happy to keep going?
Yes.
What do
Yeah,
you
I'd
want?
say
Or are we going to?
let's give 5 more minutes. How's that?
Okay,
So we don't,
that's
because
good.
I
We've
could talk to
got,
you for the next 6 months nonstop.
well, that's lucky because we're going to be doing this again.
Yes.
So, although this what you're saying about symptoms has nothing, I think, to do with the questions that we had written down.
Mm,
So you're saying that those other pieces of people pleasing or trying to save ourselves, my words, your words, self-pleasing, are symptomatic of not being in that flow state or
it's
being
we're up here.
up in our
It's
head.
like the way that I look at it is like my ego, like I'm in my safe little place, right? Like I call it my little nook. My daughter has a hamster, right?
Mm,
So she's got, and the hamster burrows and builds like these little
mm,
bitty places where he can be safe. And that's how I think of like that's
mm,
typically where I spend most of my time. And then if I try to like go after something and there's all this fear at the surface, like I got to go through the fear to
mm,
get to the thing, right? And like right before I
mm,
go into the fear, there's like this little layer of ego that's like, are you sure? They're going to think you're stupid. You're going to make a fool of yourself. Like, I think that's the
mm,
ego. And all of that happens in the mind. And when I can let go
mm,
of that and just do, just lift the weight,
mm,
just ride the horse, just give, just speak from the heart. That's when, like, that's when you're flowing. And that feels like self expression. Everything else, when I get up here, feels like managing. And I think that's
mm,
ego. The ego's like, hey, remember, you could forget something. You could look like a
mm,
fool. People could hate
mm,
you. People could think
mm,
you're not what you think. Like all of the questions, the rabbit holes.
mm.
Make sense? Not make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, it does make sense. It's just seeping in, really.
Mm.
Yes, that the other pieces are symptomatic of.
The ego trying to protect us.
Mm, mm,
It's like just right there. Like, and then I bump into it, and the ego's like, hey, why don't you get back down in your little nook? And I'm like, boink.
mm.
Again, interpretive dance.
Yeah. That feels, I don't know why, but it feels like a new way of thinking about it for me.
Mm.
That thinking about when I am and when I have been in flow,
Yes.
there's that lack of self-consciousness, lack of self-awareness. I'm not aware of myself when
Wow.
I'm, yeah,
Hmm. Very cool.
I'm just in the thing.
Yeah.
And it is extremely enjoyable.
Yes. That's why that dude wrote that whole book. That's the sweet spot.
Mm,
And
mm,
he talks about like how do you identify that and then how do you continue because at some point that won't be very challenging and then you won't have flow anymore. And so how do you
mm,
keep challenging as well as like I can't remember the chart, but he talks about how do you continue to experience and create and generate flow. It's fascinating.
mm. I don't have that book. I might get it. I don't think I have it. If I've got it, I haven't read it. Um, so then I'm thinking about, because uh, in my head, that's a very like a nice place to be, and it's a very,
Hmm.
it's a really enjoyable experience. But then I'm also thinking about being in supervision with Chris,
Yeah.
the amazing Chris,
Yes.
um, and expressing myself there, which is bringing tears into my eyes
Mm-hmm.
and my nose, kind of like expressing myself there really fully, but a it's not a it's I'm not talking about nice stuff. Maybe I might be expressing something that's painful,
Yeah.
but I am, it's making me cry,
It's okay.
but
Keep going.
I'm not, I'm free from, I'm free when I'm talking
Yeah.
in those conversations. I'm free to express myself,
Hmm.
even if what I'm expressing is painful.
Yes.
There's this freedom
Yes.
And I notice in those conversations, there is energy, like I'm moving sometimes when I'm talking to him,
Yeah.
um, and expressing deep things
Yeah.
because of the level of trust I have in that space, that I can just fully express myself, even if I'm not expressing something that is joyous or fabulous.
Yeah. There's
So it's not just about, deep, beautiful
no.
creativity and like, oh my God, this feels amazing. It's not just that, it's this freedom
Mhm.
to be in that moment,
Mhm.
a little bit like right now.
Yes. Yeah. You're doing it. You're literally doing it right now.
I'm
I love
doing
it.
it right now.
Yeah.
And to express what's really there.
Mhm.
Mm.
So maybe self-expression is the highest form of presence, like the highest form of being present and experiencing and expressing all of what um, we're, what is coming up without
Mm.
needing to tamp it down or to turn it down or to turn it up. Like it is just to allow it to flow through us.
What is to
Yeah,
allow
and
what is.
not allowing our mind to get in the way, to interrupt, or to in any way mess with what is coming up for
Mm.
us.
Mm.
That's a beautiful
I'm glad
definition.
that's recorded because I don't even remember what you just said, even though you only just said it. But
As long as you agree, it doesn't matter.
I completely agree. Ah,
Hi.
hi.
Aren't you glad you unhooked your bra? Can you breathe? Should we breathe together?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My bra is actually hooked up. I'm
Oh,
I'm fully I'm fully contained for this 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 episode.
should we take a
So
deep
I'd
breath
show up with,
together?
let's do it. Oh,
Good stuff.
that was lovely, Ali.
This is going to be so much fun. I
Hmm.
already love it. If nobody
Mm.
listens to it, I don't give a shit. I just learned something massive for myself. Okay, let's end
Mm.
with takeaways. What did you learn today?
Ooh. I think I learned that self-expression is not where I was looking.
Yeah,
It lies somewhere else. I
yeah,
mean,
buddy.
I'd written people pleasing and you said eyes on me, and that's where I was looking.
Same.
Um, and actually, I'm wondering now if it's something else entirely,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. And yeah, I think that's my takeaway, that
Mm.
it's not where I was looking and not quite what I thought it was.
My takeaway is um, self-expression feels like being allowing whatever is happening inside of me to be expressed in whatever way it is without my mind trying to get involved in some way.
Mm.
That's and that like that is not what I came here with as I was thinking in all of my notes today. Like so
Mm.
huge. Well
Mm.
done. High five. Boink.
You got a high 10.
High tens.
Mm. Do you want to hit
Stop.
stop?
Okay, so are we
I
gonna
can
sign
remove the
off?
post-it.
How do we sign off?
Uh,
How do you say goodbye in proper, like, how does the king say goodbye in England?
I think he says goodbye.
That's so boring. How about we say goodbye? We'll remember that yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, and we'll
Mm.
say adios,
Adios.
adios, muchacha.
Adios,
All right.
amigos.